Sport Diplomat with Tanner Simkins is proudly sponsored by Built, redefining hydration and performance. Today on Sport Diplomat, we visit with Derek Baker, or Bigg D as the music industry knows him. He's a super producer. He's worked with all the biggest music labels and TV studios and film studios as they use his songs and their soundtracks in video games. His records have been in sports stadiums as their theme songs all across the world. When you turn on the radio, you're listening to some element of Bigg D's music, or at least his influence. He's worked with artists like Jay-Z, Diddy, J-Lo, Missy Elliot, Rick Ross, Jamie Foxx, Pitbull, Ozuna. I can go on and on about his portfolio. I first met Bigg D years ago when I came to him to work on some music projects, and I'm very proud that a lot of those records we've done together have won things like triple platinum recognition. But I'm more proud of our friendship. He's one of my trusted allies in music and a very good friend. Here is the GOAT, Bigg D. I wanted to ask you right off the top a question about the music, question about the philosophy of music. I guess it's your philosophy. You told me one time, I always bet on the music, and I always remember that. What does that mean? Bet on the music?
Well, with me, it's like I've been doing music since I was like 6 years old, So, so my confidence in my music is at an all-time high. So, like, I don't really get caught up in, how many, followers you have, or like you have to have a certain look in order to have a hit record or whatever. Like, when I say bet on the music, I let the music do the talking. Like I let the music get to the consumer, and it's on the consumer as far as how that music make them feel. That's what's gonna give you the hit record. Like all the analytics, and you got to be this type of artist, and you have to look like this, or you have to have this many followers or whatever. I don't really get caught up into that. I bet on my music. I let the music do what it's gonna do, and I believe in my music like that till my music just opened up doors for me. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean when I say bet on the music.
Tell the people who may be just listening and maybe just hearing about you a little bit about your background. I mean, obviously you don't have to rattle off everything, but some of the greats that you've worked with.
Man, I don't work with artists, from gospel artists to R&B artists to rap artists. Like I work with DeWine, Shirley Caesar. I work with Jay-Z. I work with J-Lo, Pretty Ricky. Jamie Foxx, Ross. Pretty much everybody in the game. You know what I mean? Like I've worked with them. You know what I mean? I've done records for them or whatever. So I've been out here for a minute.
Yes, I'm very familiar, but for someone who's just finding out, I encourage you listeners out there to do a quick Google search on Bigg D. He's being very humble and very modest. The names go on and on. So I know you've discovered so many artists, from the City Girls to tons of others. And you yourself is from, you're from down here too. What's it like working with the talent down here and obviously representing, South Florida?
I'm born and raised from here, man. So I grew up in Carol City, same place where Ross grew up at, Flo Rida, like all those grew up in Carol City. So, it's just a talented, spot. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy working with Miami artists and watching the new artists come up in the game from Miami or South Florida, especially the Latin artists, you know what I mean? Like, Miami's got that multicultural thing going on, so it's like, we just a melting pot when it comes to the music things, like, So, like, I love it, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, like, outside of Miami, like, it's my home,
Absolutely. And your career has traversed so many different eras of music, really. In the early days, you were doing things more physical, and now things are digital and streaming, and you've adjusted. And really, I want to compliment you on the fact that you've been able to stay at such a high level across so many different, changes of generations, in music. Not every producer can do that. People fall out of favor. Some artists get hot, get not hot, whatever. You've been at the top for so long. Is that just a consequence, like you said earlier, of just producing good music, and people will find good music, or what is it exactly that's how'd you have a little bit of that success?
It's a combination of everything. It's like like the music game is no different than the sports game as far as basketball, football. Like you got to study the game if you want to be in the game. You know what I'm saying? You want to be great at it. So it's like, and the game is always evolving. You know what I'm saying? So it's like what the kids is on today is different than when I was coming up doing music. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to study. You got to study the kids. You got to study what they like. What they into today, and just do music like that. You know what I mean? Like, I heard people talking like when they was talking about R&B, how R&B is that. I don't think R&B is that. I just think R&B is considered something different than what it was when I was coming up, when Diddy was coming up, when all of us was coming up in R&B. R&B, the music was different. You know what I mean? The approach to the song was different. It was all about love, like, those in the 80s or whatever. Now these kids they're on something else. So their R&B world is different. So you just got to adjust your game to relate to them and still get in where you fit in. It's, you know what I mean? And just, do music that way. And that's the beauty in doing music, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're able to, like, grow. And if you want to be great at it, like, you'll adjust. And
sure.
You know what I'm saying? You do what's needs to be done. And I've always thought like that,
Yeah, well, it's definitely, like I said, evident in your work. I have a memory when I was meeting with you in the early days when you and I were just getting to know each other, and I had previously spoken to Atlantic
Right.
Records about some project I was working on. We don't need to get into it. And they told me, they said, if you're looking for a hit record, go to Bigg D. And that's happened so many more times. And I could only imagine how much deal flow is sent to you from labels and big artists and everything. So it's definitely paying off. I want to transition real quick into some of the live stuff you do. A lot of these modern producers, they're all on the keyboard, the synths and whatever the lingo is. They're producing on the computer is what I'm getting at. They're using the softwares and you play. And not only do you play, you're a master guitar player. I know you play other instruments too. And you supplement the production with being able to go and actually play the records live, which a lot of producers don't do anymore. Talk a little bit about that.
Man, I grew up on live music. You know what I mean? I grew up listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and just Stevie Wonder, and like I just grew up on live music, and me being I'm a musician first, so I always think live. I think me being a musician, I just think different when I approach a track. So I'm always gonna have some liveness in my tracks. You know what I mean? And that's just that. I grew up in church, so.
Mm-hmm.
I started playing in church, so that's just in me, man. That's all I know. You know what I mean? I got my own live band. You know what I mean? So that's like my number one thing to do: play live music.
Yeah, I love watching you, man. It's awesome. The music game, I guess, the music industry has applications in a lot of the things I do in the sports and media space.
Right.
And I've been around you enough. We've done projects where I've been involved in some of the soundtrack work that you've done, and I know you did the Miami Heat theme song, which is something that's so cool to me. You know, your music has been in so many placements in TV and music and movie, obviously music, sorry, movies, sports. Talk about that side of the business and just the fact that your music it can hit so many people in different ways.
Yo, man, just a blessing, man. You know what I mean? Just a blessing to be a part of those things. You know what I mean? I'm definitely a Miami Heat fan. I'm a Dolphin fan. Like, so anything pertaining to Miami, that's me. You know, so it's you know, all I can say is just a blessing. Is God blessing me to you know, elevate my music. You know. Like, that's my main thing. Like, in doing music, I always want my music to touch the masses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that you know, that's my prayer. Like, so, you know, God has done that, and I just, you know, I give the credit to Him. You know, for even able to be able to have my music all over the world like that. You know.
Sure. Well, with Sport Diplomat, obviously the sport part is loose. It's not entirely limited to sports, but limited to really the larger entertainment areas. And when we say diplomat, that word is also loose. You know, it's not something in politics, but it's the fact that someone working in these media spaces, in these entertainment spaces, can navigate the world and have their job open up other opportunities for them. You know, much like how music has led you into so many different avenues of life, and you've been able to do so much cool things all over the world, really just like you said, off of a hobby you developed when you were a kid, and now it's what you do. You know, to me, that's the epitome of Sport Diplomat, what we're trying to convey, you know, storytelling from people like you. So thank you for joining us and telling us a little bit about, you know, some of your stories. I know you're working on a live album, so you can, you know, plug that if you want, and then if not, we could just you know, call it a wrap.
Nah, I'm working on this live. Matter of fact, man, you doing this together, so
hey, you know, don't blow up my spot.
Come on, man. Nah, we doing this together. So I'm working on this live album where I'm gonna have like different artists that I've worked with in the game be on, you know, feature on it, and it's gonna be like an instrumental album, you know what I mean, because I play guitar, but I'm just gonna have different artists on there to feature on something special, you know what I mean? And I'm working with different artists. I'm working on the City Girls album, and I'm working on this girl named Layla Samaya, which is signed to Yo Gotti. I'm doing her project as well, you know. So we just working.
I love it. Bet on the music. Thank you, Bigg D.
Yo, appreciate you, Tanner.